Okay, could somebody let me know if that is better? I hope that I've managed to stop the many Neils situation, and apologies for that. Is that better? I hope it is. I'm just going to check actually in the video myself. So really serious apologies now. I know some of you are still there. It unfortunately hasn't fixed. If the voices are still looping, just the new audio is louder. Oh, it's fixed. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, I'm really sorry about that, and it's going to come bad out in the lecture. I'll probably do something with the recording on that. So seriously, it's gone. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. I had two mics on at the same time. There was the desktop mic and the video camera mic, so sorry about that. I'll tell you, online lecturing is a new experience for us all, and I hope you could make some sense of the previous parts of the lectures. Okay, I'll try and get back to the lecture. I don't know if you heard any of the past comments, but I think these were the most relevant comments. That in fact, what's happened these days is the number of SMS messages and the amount of voice traffic on mobiles and on telecoms in general has been reducing. But the there's a huge increase of data. So various apps that you might use in the telecoms market are actually increasing, whereas people are using less and less the old-fashioned SMS. I hate to say old-fashioned because it was quite a newfangled thing not too long ago for me. But anyway, there we are. So mobile voice call minutes, the number of mobile voice call minutes has basically reduced, as you can see, over the last number of years, and that's because of the corresponding increase in data. The mobile to fixed is quite a flat figure, as are the mobile international and roaming and mobile advanced. And I really do apologise sincerely about the many voices. It just proves how well communications can work or how badly it can work. So hopefully you're all hearing me properly now. And let me just check that your text messages, okay. Good now, fantastic. That's fixed it. Yeah, it's gone. Listen, I've given you a great sort of lecture in terms of communications and how you can do things so badly by looping voice calls today. Very, very unintentional, I can assure you, but nevertheless, it just proves that you have to get systems working properly, and it's quite easy to make a mess of things. Okay, so a little bit about the Digital Economy and Society Index 2017. This was an interesting report, and it showed that Ireland had a rank of number 8 in the European Union out of 28 countries. Obviously, we're down to 27 now with Britain leaving, but we were 8th at that point in time. We've improved slightly, I believe, since then, but measures are based on connectivity, human capital, use of internet, integration of digital technology, and digital public services. So just looking at it, looking at the various aspects of it, in terms of connectivity, fast broadband coverage would be above the EU average in general. Now we've slipped a little bit in relation to that, but that we would hope that that would actually increase again based on the National Broadband Scheme. So in terms of human capital, you'd be glad to know that in certain areas, such as STEM graduates, we're number 1 in Europe, and that was quite a positive finding. So STEM, obviously, as you probably know, is science, technology, engineering, and maths. Now, you guys probably don't fall under that category, but this module obviously would be very much under STEM. So in terms of the use of the internet, the engagement of Irish internet users in online activities is broadly sort of at the EU average in terms of sort of things like online banking and online shopping, video calls and so on. But integration of digital technology in all of the EU, Irish SMEs are actually pretty good, as you'll see. If you look down at the lower figures there, Ireland ranks pretty much number 1 for things like selling online and e-commerce turnover and so on for small businesses. Social media, interestingly, we were number 3 ranked in Europe, so that's actually quite high. In terms of users, digital public services, you know, e-government users, we were ranked 5th, but digital public service, there's demand among internet users is one of the highest in Europe, and Ireland has greatly improved in terms of providing open data. Now, I take a lot of interest in this one because I was very much involved in the open data strategy for Ireland, working with the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, who led it. So there's a lot of the open data portal in Ireland is something which we at NUIG Insight actually were responsible for designing and implementing, and it's now run by a spin-out company called Dairy Links. So we used to be called Derry, of course, and now Dairy Links is the name of the company who has, I think, still has the contract for managing that. Okay, in terms of broadband itself, the number of total broadband subscribers is very much going up. So the total broadband, there's fixed broadband and mobile broadband. So predominantly we still use fixed broadband, but mobile broadband, as you can see, is actually catching on quite quickly as well. So in terms of television, this is quite an interesting, because Comreg very much covers television as well. So the figure that I note here mostly is the 12.3% plus in terms of IPTV, and you'll be most familiar with things like Netflix, which would be an internet television. So that comes under IPTV. So that's increased. It's even increased by a small amount, you know, in the last little while, and that might be very well to do with our current situation with the COVID-19 crisis. Or sorry, yeah, it is COVID-19, not COVID-20. But the COVID-19 crisis has very much led to sort of an increase in I suppose, television watching, which is quite interesting. Not surprising, since many of us are locked at home. But just to look at the actual situation around Europe, you'll notice that I mean, we're obviously in the west of Ireland, which isn't quite as high level of usage. But in 2019, we actually rank, you know, just slightly above the average of the EU 28. But we're very close to many of the other countries. So, you know, our broadband capacity is actually pretty much in line with the EU average. And with the National Broadband Plan, it's probably going to increase and improve. So there we have the broadband map of Ireland. As you can see, sort of the main cities really and towns. If you look at the blue dots there, the blue sections are where broadband is predominant, and you see obviously around Dublin there's a very large cluster. You can see more or less the outline of Galway City, and you can see just along the coast in Galway, for example, you know, that the coastal areas where the houses are, obviously the big area bog, there isn't any need for broadband in the bog. But anyway, 96%, the plan actually looks at, the overview is that 96% of Ireland's landmass will be covered by broadband as required, and this will involve the introduction of 146,000 kilometres of fibre to various different premises. So the broadband plan is trying to make sure that pretty much everybody is covered, so that everybody who's watching this lecture, no matter what part of Ireland you live in, you'll be able to watch this lecture and hopefully not hear multiple feedback loops of voices. But I mean, it's important from the working from home point of view, and we're seeing the value of broadband right now, you know, in terms of this virus that we've all got. We're all being asked to stay at home, and you know, our lives, you know, are probably very much, it's actually possible to do this, and for some of us to actually work from home based on, you know, the fact that we actually have broadband and we can do our work at home. So in total, 537,000 premises are to be connected as part of the National Broadband Plan. So I'm really sorry about this lecture. Now the slides I'll post online straight after this lecture, and I'll make sure that all slides are online. But basically this week's the lab this week is the final lab, and we will have you'll have up to 3 attempts to do the final MCQ, which will be based on this lecture and the 4 lectures beforehand. So all the lectures on communications, and it'll run from 12 noon until 5 p.m. on Wednesday. So please do attend that. And anyone who hasn't done their assignments, you will have the opportunity to talk to myself, Ajinka, and Heike as part of the Blackboard virtual classroom. So not a lot of people have been going to that, but we've gone through things with a few of you. So if any of you have assignments outstanding, please do avail of the opportunity. Now, for those who heard me sort of shouting and roaring at the many different times, I'm just going to recap from the very start very briefly. I'm going to go right back to the start of this lecture. So I won't go through the assignments and so on, but just to give you some of the actual key issues of the lecture. So just to say, second year BA, it's divided into 6 modules. Semester 1 is object-oriented programming, information systems, and systems analysis and design. Semester 2 is object-oriented programming 2, and then web information systems and web application development. So all the work that we've done, in this semester and the previous semester should stand to you in terms of both of those. So I hope you do all go on, or many of you go on and do study IT, and study, of course, how to avoid feedback loops. That's a very important thing. Okay, in third year, you build on your first and second year work and focus on specific areas of IT which you might find interesting. So it'll be about developing program skills further, extensive research in the area of IT of your choice, and present it in a conference setting. I'm going to check your messaging again, just in case anybody is finding any more difficulties or if there's any questions. Okay, nothing more. We missed the first part of the lecture, somebody said. Nothing was audible, so that's why I'm going back and recovering it. And luckily I had raced through it, and we still have a little bit of time in relation to the lecture. So let me go back to the lecture. So you'll have a choice of further modules chosen from your list. So basically year 3 will get to be very interesting indeed, if you're still involved at that stage, and I hope you are, and I hope that you're going to go and follow through on this, and many of you will have hopefully good careers in terms of IT. So just the second part of it now is the actual lecture itself. So telecommunications in Ireland. I was talking about the Department of Decay, and that's Department of Communications, Climate Action and Environment. Very inappropriately named department, I think, but anyway, that's what it's known as in the public service, Decay. And the communications regulator, Comreg, has been known as Comreg for quite some time. It's worth looking at their website. But the report that we looked at earlier, and I think we got most of that, it's the communications market, the key data report, and the digital economy and society index, which I think you did all here. So we will stop at that point. But just quickly, fixed line telephones in Ireland, the development was very slow takeoff in the 1980s, and there was a waiting list from the 1940s, and there was 100,000 by the 1980s. That's all there were. By the mid-1960s, Posts and Telegraphs, though, had tried to dampen demand because they were finding it tricky to keep up with it. So the telecoms market deregulation did occur in 1998, and all fixed line customers are now served by digital lines and touch-tone signalling. In terms of telephone subscriptions in Ireland, as you can see, there's actually quite an increase in mobile subscriptions, but the fixed line subscriptions are very much steady. So, most households and businesses have some sort of fixed line at the moment, and that's the number. There's over 2 million fixed line subscribers. In terms of mobile subscribers, there's over 6.5 million. So many people obviously have more than one mobile, and obviously there's various different types of mobile subscription as well. So the most common type of voice call, obviously you see this blue section here, is mobile to mobile. So there's far more mobile to mobile chat going on than there is, for example, landline chats. Fixed line to fixed line has been decreasing quite considerably. So we've gone from 396 to 265, just even since 2017. So, sorry, I'm going ahead too far here. In terms of revenues, industry revenues, obviously there's still quite a substantial revenue from fixed lines, because there are fixed charges for those fixed lines. Mobile retail revenues have gone up, not that significantly, but they've gone up in the last number of years. And even broadcasting retail revenues have increased. They've gone up to 151,000. Okay. Those are the figures, and as I said earlier, probably many times, many more times than I would have liked, the fixed voice messages have actually decreased by 20%. That's the annual change, and those are actually falling quite considerably. But you'll notice the machine-to-machine subscriptions are actually increasing quite considerably, and mobile subscriptions are also increasing. In terms of market share, the old traditional Air has got nearly half of the market still in terms of fixed lines, because obviously traditionally that's that was the company which had everything. Air comes originally from the old Posts and Telegraph company. So the other companies of note would be British Telecom has a bit of market share, Virgin Media, Vodafone and Sky all have a certain amount of market share, and then others. So there's quite a few others involved in the Irish deregulated market. So in terms of the actual market share by subscriptions, you'll find that Vodafone, this is for mobiles now, you'll find that Vodafone and Three basically dominate the market. Air Mobile has about 17%, and then, believe it or not, Tesco Mobile has a total share of 6.3%. And this is the slide that I find the most interesting, because basically the number, I think this is where we got caught up in our loop. I think we were just on this slide when I discovered that in fact I was annoying you enormously. Basically you'll see the amount of data usage has increased very, very substantially over this period, whereas things like SMS texts have gone down very substantially since 2016, and indeed the first quarter of 2016 there were 1.49 billion text messages, and now we're down to 864 million. Still a very substantial number, but considerably less than there were. So the amount of data usage has correspondingly gone up. So it's not to say that the amount of communication has in any way gone down. In fact, it's gone up enormously, but people are using mobile phone apps far more than they're using things like SMS or indeed traditional voice calling. Still a lot of people talking to each other on standard telecoms, mind you. And I think we've pretty much caught up, but I'll just go through these two slides until we get to the DESI report, and I'm certain that we've got back to the original thing again. I'm just going to check what you're saying to me here. Maybe one of you would let me know if we had gone through these slides properly or not. Right. Just checking here. Okay, sorry about this. I'm not showing you great technical skills, I'm afraid, at this stage. Yeah, okay, so can everybody hear me now who's still on the call, or indeed who is watching this? Actually, no, sorry, the people who are watching this are not going to be able to tell me because it's only online comments that are streaming. Okay. I'll go back to the lecture. I think we'd pretty much caught up with where we were, but just to say that this slide is the one that I find the most interesting, because you see down, we're looking at the SMS messages and MMS, which is sort of sending pictures and so on. That's been decreasing quarter on quarter, whereas correspondingly the amount of data has been increasing. So those two are very much related to each other. because as we're seeing SMSs or traditional texts, disappearing, we're seeing an increase in the amount of data usage. So people are substituting one for another, which is quite sensible. Now, I think we had covered the Digital Economy and Society Index, so I'm going to go forward to the end of this, and just to say we'd covered television and we'd looked at the broadband plan. So that's the broadband plan. So the final online lab, I think we had covered this as well, but this week we have up to 3 attempts to do the MCQ test, and please do log in terms of Heike and Ajinka and myself on Blackboard. You can just log in to say goodbye if you wish. It would be nice to talk to any of you who do log in. If you want to log in briefly during the 3 hours from 12 to 3, feel free to do so. You can talk to us directly, or indeed you can talk to each other if you wish. And then finally, I'm going to go on to the last slide, which is basically a big thank you to you all for sitting through the 23 lectures, and especially anyone who's managed to sit through this lecture, because you heard a sort of a feedback loop, and it was an unintended but good demonstration of how easily things can go wrong in terms of communication. So thank you very, very much, all of you. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you all over the course of the semester, and I hope you all go on to bigger and better things, and I hope this damned COVID-19 crisis now and our sort of online situation disappears as soon as possible, and I hope that all of you are keeping very, very safe and well. So really wishing you all enormously well in the futures, and I'm just going to take one last look at the online comments to see if there are any comments, and if any of you have actually managed to stick through this in any shape and form. Okay, there's a thank you from Joanne. Thank you very much, Joanne, and I hope that you were able to hear the last bit of it, but we did have a number of technical problems, most of them of my making, but also there's been a bit of an issue with the with the actual connection as well. So anyway, thanks. It's been a real pleasure to see you all. So as I said, if we talk to you on Wednesday, great. If not, make sure that you get all your assignments in, and please do make sure that you do the last MCQ tests. So thank you all. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Mark, for your comments there as well. And I hope I can pronounce this properly. Akidoki and Nicola. You're all incredibly welcome, and I think you certainly get top marks for resilience, anyone who's stuck it through now to this stage. So really, it's been an enormous pleasure working with you all. So I'm going to end it there, and thank you very much indeed. Okay, and stay safe and well. Take care.